Welcome, Daria. I'm very glad you could make it and that we can have this chat together. I'm so curious about your work. I heard that you work on yoga therapy. And, I would like you to explain to me and to our listeners, what is yoga therapy?
That's a good question. Thank you for having me, Davide. Yoga therapy, as I see it, is the traditional way of teaching yoga. The group class, as we know yoga now in a yoga school or gym, is something new. I think the first group classes were taught in the 80s, maybe 70s. And before that, it was a personal practice. So you would come to the teacher, to the guru, and he or she would teach you your own personal practice, depending on your physical, mental, emotional state. And what I do as a yoga therapist nowadays, I work mostly with refugees. And this is a special group of refugees. They have already went through the first round of asylum procedure, and it was denied. So they are now living in the Netherlands, trying to get into the second round. In the meantime, they live in a sort of gray zone. They are not allowed to work, to study. Some of them live on the streets, and I coach them for an organization called AS Café. They take care of those people. They give them shelter. They provide workshops for them, and different other things. And I coach them in one-on-one sessions, mostly in stress management. And try to give them a little bit of self-reliance, give them back their power. I teach them simple things, not only a posture, which is beneficial for their situation, their body, but to give them the feeling that they can do something for themselves. So I want them to be independent from me in the long run.
This is amazing. I'm quite touched, and I wanted to thank you. Offering, the real thing, like you explained, the yoga as it was intended to the people who need it most. It's amazing. So thank you so much. I also would like to know how you discovered, this particular way of bringing yoga to people.
The same way as you did, walking my own path. I started practicing yoga from a DVD in 2007. It got me hooked. Then I tried all different styles, Bikram, Hatha yoga, up to one day when I found myself in this beautiful new yoga studio, being the only student at 7 a.m. And this teacher is counting me through the most horrific and the most interesting yoga style I have ever known. And I went through all different emotions during the 60 minutes, from loving this style to hating it, from loving the teacher to hating her. And at the end, I was so energized and so calm and so steady in my mind that I decided to do it a daily practice. And it was Ashtanga yoga. And Ashtanga yoga is a sequence and is traditionally taught in a self-practice way. And I started reading about the tradition, the people behind Ashtanga yoga, the teacher behind the teacher, and I read about someone called Krishnamacharya, who is the founder of modern day yoga, and he was giving yoga therapy. So if someone would show up to him with a headache, he would give him a tweaking in the diet, a posture, maybe standing on his or her head for a few minutes a day, and so healing the whole system with different techniques like breathwork and meditation as well.
Fantastic. So it's really applied to a specific individual and their needs. That's fantastic.
Yes.
So in doing so, are there particular techniques that you tend to use more often, or aspect of Ashtanga that maybe you don't use that much or teach that much to people, especially in those situations you mentioned?
Yeah, I don't teach Ashtanga yoga at all to those people. What I always prescribe, so I give them homework to do every day for 6 weeks, is walking for 30 minutes every day outside, drinking 2 liters of water, basically keeping the body, the whole system running smoothly, being hydrated, depending on their resources, because the refugees don't have money. I look into in their diet as well. I don't change anyone's diet. Food is very personal. It's sacred to some people. But sometimes you can do some little improvements. Also, for example, mindfulness comes in and meditation comes in with food. I ask them to prepare the food by themselves if they can, put some love into it when making it, smelling it, looking at the colors. This already is a very simple and small exercise which brings them into the here and now, into their reality, in bringing the attention to what they do, and can relieve stress on the long run. Mostly I work with stress management, deep breathing, networking, making friends. So these are the basic things which I teach to everyone. Also interesting to me is, in my experience, that 90% of the symptoms that people have are stress related.
Well, I can't even imagine what these people went through. Like you described, they come from a situation that I can't even imagine, right? Having to flee your own country under who knows what circumstances. Now they come here and they are in this limbo for who knows how long. They're worried about the future, probably traumatized about their past. So anything you can do to help them in their mind is going to make them, make a huge difference in what comes next. So thank you again for that. And in terms of what you've been able to bring to them, you mentioned stress reduction. Are there other, benefits that you have noticed emerging from the people you help?
So it's a very interesting group. First of all, I must say, some people are highly educated, speak multiple languages, like we do, like you do, like I do. And I say, hey, let's do meditation. And they're like, okay, great, I've read about it, let's do it. And there are other people who are analphabets, not educated. They explaining them that feeling relaxed is okay. I had this one lady who told me that she felt weak after an exercise. So those people who I can reach, which is maybe 50%, they get hope. And this is a tricky issue for them, because some of them are being sent home, of course. So, but they get hope for the next step. I explain them also that whatever your situation is right now, it will change. Impermanence, life is changing. It's never the same. Get whatever you can out of this situation. Do your workshop, connect with people, have fun, paint, sing, write, walk, enjoy the sun. And some of them get hope. And what I said in the beginning, also self-reliance, self-trust, that somehow whatever comes onto their path, they will be able to manage.
That's amazing. I mean, like you said, the future is uncertain, but what you give them, they're going to take with them wherever they go. So it's the perfect gift. And I can't think of any group of people who wouldn't, benefit from a little bit of hope, self-reliance, self-trust, self-compassion, all of that. Is there any other group in particular of people that you would like to help next?
Everyone is welcome. So most of the people who come to me are very desperate. They have maybe chronic illnesses. They are traumatized, and they have tried everything already. They have been everywhere with every specialist. So everyone can benefit, and everyone is welcome. Everyone who is willing is welcome. You're thanking me, but this is the most rewarding thing I've ever done. It's tough, but it's very rewarding. I get a lot of energy out of this.
If for some reason you're in the business of helping people, that's why you're doing it, and that's where the energy comes from actually helping and actually seeing that you can have an impact. And I can't thank you enough. I think it's fantastic. There's one question I have. Maybe it applies in your situation, maybe it doesn't apply in your situation. But is there anything funny that you've have encountered in your sessions, in your work? What's the most kind of funny or bizarre situation or circumstance that you have encountered?
We also have a lot of fun with my clients. I try to give them a moment of lightness as well, right? So they see that it's not only dark, but that they can also be lightness within the dark. There can be a light, in the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel, or a moment in the week when they visit me and we just crack some jokes. Yoga therapy. Well, many funny things happen right now. Not something that special comes up. The most funny thing is, I think, the miscommunications between me and my clients. They, like I said, different backgrounds, different cultures, different food, different surroundings, everything is different. And I try to match and to find the words to connect with them, which is a challenge.
If you have words, because sometimes maybe they speak another language, you don't have a common language.
That's true. And I have a bachelor in cultural anthropology, so I studied studying people. I studied rituals, and so I think of myself that I can easily connect. And I had this gentleman, and he was a child soldier in the past from Africa, and he had severe depression, but he slowly started coming out of it. And one of the last sessions, when we were cracking jokes, I asked him to do this exercise, which is called How Interesting. I call it How Interesting. So I move with the client through the room and I ask them to point out something which catches their attention. It can be bad or good. I ask them not to put a value stamp on it, just say, oh, this is interesting. And he did, but it was really, I had the feeling that he was trying to please me, which is another layer I have to go through as a white Western woman. And then I tried, okay, but what I said was, okay, look at the magic, look at the beauty, the magic of life. And he said, no magic. And this was, yeah, it's a
Oh,
bad
it's a
word.
bad
It's a
word
bad
in this
word.
culture.
Not good at all. And and it took me, he was really shaken by it. And so yeah, it was afterwards. I mean, I laughed about it afterwards, after about my mistake, and it was very interesting for me to learn about this and to tweak my words a little bit more.
Wow, I think is, well, first of all, it is funny if you hear it afterwards, but it's also teaching, not to take anything for granted and think that our values and language, the way we are brought up, applies to everyone.
Yeah.
Cool. I'd like to conclude here, but first of all, I want to thank you again for showing up and for doing what you do. And I would like everybody to visit your website, which is dariamnych.com. And whatever we post this interview, we're going to also write it clearly so people can click on it. Thank you again, and see you soon.
Thank you, Davide.